Right through here, Mr. Lindner. Come right back through here. Right on going here, folks. We got anyone coming in? We have Goldberg. We've got a few more coming here. I will introduce to you the ones I know anyway. Is your wife coming? Melissa? Keep right on coming here. We got room for them all. Is Trey coming? They're all coming? Tell you what, young man, why don't you go right here and kneel, all right? Or have a seat. There you go. We need a new stadium. Is exactly correct. Amy Bowden is coming in. Please let Amy in. Is Melissa, Trey, and Taryn coming? They went sneaking in the other direction. On my right, your left, we have Reds Chief Executive Officer Carl H. Lindner, Lindner. We know Jr. Reds General Manager Jim Bowden, Bowden. Reds Chief Operating Officer John Allen. Mr. Griffey's agent Brian Goldberg. And his wife and family are somewhere behind us. Here they come. Here comes Trey and Taryn and Senior.
I was called Junior.
Hey, I didn't do this, pal. I had nothing to do with this, all right? And Birdie. I will introduce Mr. Bowden, the general manager. He is going to talk about the trade. Mr. Bowden will introduce John Allen, who will talk about the financial aspects of the deal. Mr. Allen will introduce Mr. Lindner, who will introduce Mr. Griffey. And please, a reminder, we are on a very tight schedule. If you have a question, please ask. Mr. Bowden.
Thank you, Rob. February 10th, 2000. February 10th, 2000. That day will go down in Reds history, and will go down in Major League history when one of the biggest trades in the history of our sport took place, when the Michael Jordan of baseball came home to Cincinnati. The player of the decade, an all-century player, a player that was born in Cincinnati, has become one of the best players in our sport, has come home. I want to thank Mr. Lindner for giving this tremendous gift to our community, and what a gift it is for all the children in this area. The Cincinnati Reds officially announce that we have acquired Ken Griffey Jr. from the Seattle Mariners in exchange for the contracts of pitcher Brett Tomko, outfielder Mike Cameron, and two minor league players, Antonio Perez and Jake Meyer. We would not have made this trade if we did not have the ability to sign Mr. Griffey to a long-term contract, because we didn't want him for just 1 year to rent a player. We didn't want a Greg Vaughn, a Ron Gant, a Kevin Mitchell. We wanted a permanent superstar in Cincinnati to open our new stadium, and we accomplished that. I'd like to introduce Mr. John Allen to announce the signing. John?
Thanks, Jim. Jim talked about this date being a landmark date for the Cincinnati Reds. I think to a certain extent it's a landmark date for the game of baseball. I think this signing shows a return to a certain fiscal responsibility and economic event that I think is important to the game of baseball. Obviously it was important to the Cincinnati Reds as we tried to get accomplished what we did. This is a 9-year deal with a club option for a 10th year. The secret to the success of this deal working was the amount of the deferred money, how much of the deal is deferred. That was very important to us to make this thing work economically. Once we were able to get the baseball piece done, then it was a matter of getting the economics to work. The total package over 9 years before the club option was approximately $112,500,000, of which more than 50% of that is deferred to be paid out over 16 years beyond the end of the 9th year of the contract. There is a club option with a buyout clause should we not choose to exercise that option after the 9th season. The payments accelerate in the 10th year. The last year of the contract is worth $16,500,000 the last year of the contract. Again, that was a very important part of piece of this. We had to make sure that it worked economically, and there are several people that I need to thank also. Of course, Jim Bowden and his baseball staff for being able to get the baseball side of it done. I know the Seattle Mariners, they were in a tough situation also, but I tell you, they treated this whole transaction with a lot of class. It was a difficult situation for them, but we did get it accomplished, and Chuck Armstrong and his staff in Seattle, they absolutely were first class and very professional on the entire transaction, which was much appreciated by our organization. And of course, I think the one individual who really made it work was Ken Griffey Jr. He was very reasonable. He and his agent were very professional in the negotiations, and I thank them very much for their help. And then, of course, the gentleman I'm about to introduce, the person who's really responsible for this, Mr. Carl Lindner, the Reds CEO. Carl?
Thanks, John. This is truly an exciting day for Cincinnati and the fans who have grown up watching and rooting for the oldest team in baseball, Cincinnati Reds. I love this city. It's where I grew up, raised my family, built our businesses, and brought in new business from other cities. I've always tried to contribute and give back some of my good fortune and do what's best for our city. One of the highlights of my career is what we've accomplished today, bringing Ken back to Cincinnati for the rest of his career. In these times where big markets and big money seem to steal the stars, it speaks so much of Ken's character that he has chosen instead to come back home where he belongs. The future of the Reds with Ken and our new stadium can't be more exciting. To think that Ken will break Hank Aaron's home run record in a Reds uniform is thrilling. I wish to congratulate John Allen and Jim Bowden for their successful work, along with the many people of this city who have supported the Reds in the construction of our new ballpark. Last but not least, I would like to present Ken a pair of my cufflinks that applies to you and me. They say, "Only in America." And I wear those. I wear those every day, so I don't forget. Thank you.
Mr. Linder?
Do the honors,
Yeah, put it on now. I don't want to see it on. I'll tell you that story. We'll mention it to you later.
What do you mean you take it back?
Right, we didn't tell you.
We'll talk about it later.
Oh,
That's a cold shot, man. I mean, Somebody could inform me about it. Somebody.
Talk to my mother. She'll inform you all about it later. Well, I'm finally home. I grew up here. I watched hundreds of games, thousands of games. Watched my dad. Mainly we ran downstairs when he was up to bat. But I'm happy to be here.
Nervous?
Nervous, yeah.
Okay.
Last time I put on this uniform, I think I was 8
Great.
in the father and son game.
Was that day you beat us 12-0?
Well, so I'm happy to be here, and I really don't know what to say. I mean, this is something that you dream of as a little kid, and I finally did it. I'm finally back in the hometown where I watched so many great ball players play. I get to go on the field.
Hey, Ken, after 11 years of putting on your Cincinnati Reds uniform, after 11 years of Carriers, it's got to feel a little strange, doesn't it?
Well, no, I grew up in this. I mean, all the first thing I check is when I was with the Mariners was how the Reds were doing, because I have so many friends who, Larkin, #1, I'd see what he did, and we still have all our pictures when we were growing up. We're all in Reds uniforms. It's a little tough at first. It's going to take some getting used to. I met my wife in Seattle. I have 2 kids who were born in Seattle. And so it's a little different, changing colors completely. But I think I can work it out.
What is it about Cincinnati that caused you to take obviously much less money than you could have gotten anywhere else?
It's my hometown. I grew up here. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It's where you feel happiest. And to me, Cincinnati was the place I thought I'd be happiest. And hopefully I have the same luck that my father's had and win some championships here.
Look.
You were
finally now get the idea that it's not about the money with you.
It was never about the money. That's the one thing everybody said. He turned down Seattle because they didn't offer him enough. As you can see by this contract, it was never about the money.
What's so special about coming home?
This right here. My dad gets to take my son to the ballpark, and that's one of the main reasons why I came back. Is I have a grandmother who lives here, who's seen me play 2 or 3 times. Now she gets to see me play all the time. So that's one of the things as a grandson I felt that I owed to my grandmother, is to come here and play.